Partly as a reaction to such stultifying systematization, and partly out of a desire to evolve a pure magic which is structuralist, eclectic, and free of transcendental contaminants, a freestyle tradition is developing. The principles behind the freestyle or chaos tradition are that there is usually plenty of material already in one's internal landscape, that deficiencies can be made good by blatant invention or theft of appealing symbols from any other system, and that all methods of gnosis are interchangeable. Nothing is sacred unless one finds it is useful to regard it as so. The personal arcanum is a natural source for internal landscape material. Everyone will find themselves richly endowed with fears, terrors, lusts and desires if they look. And what better material to manufacture gods and demons from is there? Past lives, explored or even invented in trance, dream or reverie, can also be a key to the worlds within us, as can work with atavisms, the backward exploration of genetic memory to tap the powers of beasts. To re-establish participation in natural phenomena, the magician may need to re-mythologize his internal landscape. It is easier to call down lightning or quell a sea storm via one's concept of Thor or Poseidon than it is by direct will alone. The reason for this, and indeed for the oblique nature of most spells in general, is that our unconscious is far better at magic than our conscious mind. Sigils, spell procedures, and entity visualizations keep the conscious mind occupied with a complex tangential activity, while sending a simple message, insulated from conscious interference, to the mighty subconscious. Some magicians find it expedient to create fetishes and visualizations of machine entities for psychic interaction with computers or complex and temperamental mechanical devices. The same principle applies to divination. The conscious mind is deliberately preoccupied with manipulating a net of symbols in which clairvoyant messages from the psychic subconscious can be caught. The subconscious is a highly imprecise term drawn from materialist psychology. Nothing is ever forgotten, but some things are more easily recalled than others. There is no serviceable magical equivalent, because magicians never found such distinctions of this type useful. Nevertheless, the doctrine of the subconscious is a useful way of reminding the rationalist that there is more to him than his ego admits. As sunlight obscures the stars by day, so does wakefulness obscure the fact that we are still dreaming. Any serious exploration of the possibilities of the internal landscape should eventually force the magician into the materialization that he is more than a single being. The rational ego of materialist psychologists and the single soul or God of monotheist religions are merely tricks we have been taught to make us more predictable and controllable. The fact remains that when one is angry, lustful, terrified, in love, or 10 years older or younger than one is, one no longer is who one is at present. The magician, who may at times experience himself as the horned god, a bear, an empty void, a spirit medium, or a businessman, should come to realize that there is no fundamental need for consistency. Once free of the illusion of self, he does not need to rationalize his activities into a consistent ego pattern, or order them into a spiritual unity. It must be said that many magicians, perhaps the majority, effectively abort their further development by making a disastrous mistake here. During his career, a magician will accrete various secondary identifications to match or balance his personality. Thus he may work in the magus, teacher, light, charismatic mode, or the joker, initiator, dark, reclusive mode, or a mixture of these. This will affect his tertiary identifications, which are basically the lifestyle and symbolic system he chooses. The secondary and tertiary identifications are merely tools which the magician uses, and not in themselves of any danger to the magician. A primary identification is made when the magician accepts some goal or power or ideal as absolute and outside of himself. In technical terms, this mistake is known as discovering one's holy guardian angel. The magician becomes a tool of his obsession. Beyond this point, the magician can make little progress. He has lost his fluidity because he has filled or obscured the creative, magical, chaotic void at the center of his self with a partial and artificial conception. In effect, he has simply become a transcendentalist or ideologue by a very roundabout route, even if he still dabbles in magic. But for the true magician, nothing is true and everything is permitted, which is to say that all ultimate truths are lies, and that anything he does is justified simply by his doing it. By accepting that he is a colonial being, the magician is able to unlock the wealth within. He whose name is Legion can do anything, and that is, of course, what the priests and politicians have always been afraid of.